Alderwood, Pastor Wyatt here, Jason Carter as well. We're going to shoot a quick video here giving you some information that you need as we head into our annual church business meeting, which is on September 22nd. And we just want to talk a little bit about what's happened this year, what we can celebrate, and also where we're headed in the next year as well. Jason, let's start off with the past. What do we have that's worth celebrating from last year?
Last year, we were blessed with a lot of really cool vision that God was kind of calling us to really push the church forward on. And to say that we were successful in that God blessed us is kind of an understatement. There's really some incredible things that has happened this past year. One is we kicked off midweek, which was a center of the week programming for birth all the way through adult, to have age-specific programming that was something that the entire family could take part in. And it was incredibly successful. Over 100 people were involved in the adult programming alone. Really incredible to see everybody here in the
Well, actually, Jason, that 100 number, that's 100 people who got involved that it was their first group ever at Alderwood.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, there was over 400 people there, but about a quarter of them, this is the first time they'd ever engaged with us outside of the Sunday service.
That's incredible. I absolutely love that. And as part of that as well is the kicking off of a dedicated preteen ministry. Now, preteen was a new kind of ministry that was formed aiming specifically at 4th and 5th graders, that there's kind of a unique age there that has some unique needs, including kind of engaging in a much more active form of play. And through that, the preteen ministry has been incredibly successful in engaging 60 students, I think it is, through Mitchell's leadership there has been incredible. But as part of that, we've been able to build out a sports court in one of the older parts of our building where the preteen gets to have a lot of loud joy, as we like to call it, multiple times a week, which has been really another incredible blessing. Also, we were able to bring on Pastor Eduardo Carrillo, as the full-time pastor of Alderwood Espanol, which is our Spanish-speaking congregation here at Alderwood. And to see what God is doing under Eduardo's leadership is really incredible. The congregation is literally bursting at the seams. They've outgrown the current room that they're in, and now they're into another overflow room across a hallway. If you ever get a chance to see their service, Eduardo is literally preaching across 2 rooms and across a hallway in the middle, and it's just incredible, the growth that's happening there, and a good problem to have as that continues to grow. We were also able to launch the Classic service, which is a kind of a creative effort to have a dedicated, more intimate kind of setting for our first service. That was a little bit more kind of communal and intimate in nature, and it's been just incredible there as well. Keith Shepard has been leading worship there since its inception, and we just announced that we're super excited to have Keith join us full-time to be focusing on that Classic service, which is an incredible blessing.
So yeah, so many great things going on. That's some of the specifics of what happened this last year, but I also want to give you some of the high-level numbers as well. If you've been coming on Sunday mornings, you probably have noticed that our church has been growing, and the data supports that as well. Over the last 12 years, our attendance averages have gone up by about 20%, which is incredible, and we're so grateful that God has given us the opportunity to bless more families, more people, and incorporate more people into our church family. We know that some of you watching this are those folks that you've come in the last year. We're so glad to have you here at Alderwood. You've probably noticed the parking lot is getting full, and we need more help with people parking off-site to be able to accommodate the people that are joining us. Really exciting stuff. And we've also been grateful that giving has gone up as well. I want to show you that graph as also. It hasn't gone up quite as much, but it has gone up. Giving has gone up to the general fund 3.6% this year, and so grateful because we know how many families that represents of people sacrificing and giving your hard-earned money to the ministry of Alderwood. So thank you for doing that if you have jumped on. But also, please do notice the disparity between the 20% attendance and the 3.6% growth in giving. And just the fact is that that's not sustainable, that we cannot continue to grow and minister to the people that God is giving us if our giving does not pick up at something close to the same pace. So if you're here at Alderwood and Alderwood's your home and you've made that commitment, but you haven't joined us in giving financially yet, please do start. Please join us and tithe along with the rest of us who are giving financially to support the ministry here. Jason, let's talk about the business meeting and why it matters.
Yeah, business meeting is the most fun meeting that we have all year round.
It's a riot.
It is definitely a good time. No, so once a year here at Alderwood, we do have an annual meeting where we ask all of the entire congregation is invited to come, but the membership is someone we ask to come to vote on 4 items. One is the slate of elders for the next year, and then the other 3 are the 3 specific budgets that we have. The budget for the general fund, which covers most of our facilities and staffing and programming, and then also dedicated budgets for our missions work, both local and across the world, and then also locally, specifically through a compassion center budget to kind of serve and make sure that we have the funds to meet the physical and spiritual needs of the people here in our community. So September 22nd, as Wyatt said, is going to be our next business meeting. We'd invite you all to come. If you're a member, we'd specifically ask you to come. You can vote online, but we'd also invite you to come. It'll be a part of our regular Sunday morning services. So we did this last year. We're going to continue to do it again, where at the end of all 3 services on September 22nd, we'll dedicate a portion of it to the business meeting where you can cast your votes there, see the numbers and the budgets, and cast your vote there. If any of you are financially minded or interested and want to dive a little bit deeper into some of the finances before the business meeting, the best place for you to come ask questions and get the information you might need is at a financial Q&A that we're going to be hosting on September 15th at 9:30 a.m. in the prayer room. And there will be Tim Epp, our treasurer, will be there, as well as some other elders and church leadership to answer any of the questions that you might have, again, ahead of that business meeting, because we want to make sure everybody has all the information they need going into that meeting so they can vote confidently.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Jason. We have a lot ahead. We've talked about what God has done this last year. We're really excited about this next year as well. And we just recently had something called Vision Weekend, where we could talk a little bit about where we feel God calling us as a church in this next ministry year. If you missed that, I really encourage you to go check it out online, alderwood.cc/Vision Weekend. You can get all the details. But one thing from that I really want to make sure everyone knows about is what's happening this fall. Starting in September on the 8th, we're going to begin an 8-week teaching series on the essential doctrines of the Christian faith. And we're going to look at those core beliefs of what does it mean to be a follower of Jesus. But it's not just a teaching series. The reason why we're doing this is that at the end of the series, we're going to ask our members to vote again. Bonus meeting this year. We get 2 instead of 1. And we're going to ask you to approve a new doctrinal statement for our church that we call the Essential Doctrinal Statement. The reason why we're doing this is because God has put us in a super diverse area, and we are honored to have the privilege of ministering not only to people who have been following Jesus their whole life and know theology backwards and forwards, but also folks who didn't grow up in the church, folks who were raised in other religions, people who grew up in other denominations and are just coming back to the faith. And we want to be unified around one simple doctrinal statement that is the core beliefs of the faith that we can all agree on so that we can be clear and unified as a church. So there's so much more information to say about that. You can learn a lot more at our landing page, alderwood.cc/essentials. But just know that vote is coming up, and that's why the teaching series is here this fall. So really make an effort for 8 weeks to show up to church every week so that you can learn more and grow in your understanding of the essential doctrines of the Christian faith. So that's it for us. We're going to transition now to Tim Epp, and we're going to dive deeper into the details of our finances. Tim, welcome to our video. Excited to dive into the details of our finances with you. Here we go.
All right. Hi, Alderwood. My name is Tim Epp. I am the treasurer of the Board of Elders. I work together with a finance committee to ensure that Alderwood remains diligent and are strong stewards of the finances that God has provided the church. I'll be talking to you this morning about the fiscal year 2024-25 budget that the board is presenting to the congregation for a vote.
Fantastic. And for people who don't know, we actually have 3 budgets that we're going to ask to be approved at our business meeting. We have our general fund, which supports just the general ministry of the church. We also have a missions fund that supports missionaries globally and locally, as well as our Compassion Center fund, which runs the Compassion Center here, where we're blessing our neighbors in this community in tangible ways in the name of Jesus. So we're going to work through those one at a time. Tim, let's start with the general fund.
Sure. And as I go, I'll talk about kind of where we're at, where we're finishing this fiscal year. We'll talk about what we're asking for the next year and a little bit about what we can expect with that increase in budget for next year.
Great.
So first off, our general fund, if you've been tracking along, you've been seeing in our weekly email that our giving has been down a little bit this year. But I do want to point out that things overall have been improved over last year and have grown over last year.
Yeah, let me just jump in. Giving hasn't actually been down. It's been trending up, but it's been a little bit behind our budget.
There you go. There you go. That is true. So our budget for this last year was $3.6 million for the general fund. It's trending right now, looking like we will come in around $3.4 million. Now, one thing that we didn't share with the church that we actually had some other income come in this year unexpectedly. The Poplar Way Bridge work has brought some easement money into the church, and it has more than covered that shortfall in giving this year.
Yeah, just to give people a little bit of detail on that, there's going to be a construction project happening soon, and we're going to temporarily let the city use some of our land for their construction equipment. And so we get some money from that, which has been fantastic.
Yeah, so next year we are asking for an increase to $3.79 million for the church to vote on. And I think we're confident in asking for that number because the church remains very strong financially. We have no debt, which is unusual for churches. We have very strong cash reserves and are really in a solid position. So with the increase in giving that we did see from the church body this year, we are confident that is a number that we can ask from the church.
Yeah, as we've said, giving has trended up. We expect that to continue. Often in churches, there's a little bit of a time lag between attendance increases and giving increases. And so as we've seen really strong attendance increases the past several years, we are expecting giving to follow that. And we're hoping that many of you listening will be a part of that change.
And part of that diligence that we've seen from staff is in putting together this budget. Really, the department heads were diligent in making sure that they weren't asking for much more. In fact, generally across the board, money is going to be flat for a lot of the ministries. Where we are seeing an increase is in our labor due to cost of living and other benefit expenses going up for the church. One area that we are adding, we're adding a discipleship pastor this year, which I'm really excited about having Jack Doney step into that role.
I'm too.
So I think what we are asking for in the general fund is a responsible ask of the board from the church body.
Fantastic. Let's move on to the missions fund.
All right, missions fund this year. Missions has, again, another area that the church has been historically just passionate about. Revenue this year for missions, is expected to come in around $420,000 for the year, with expenses trailing that of only $388,000. So another really, really strong year. Again, because of things that we're trying to do, not only supporting our existing missionaries, but also building up our Alderwood Espanol ministry, we're asking for an increase to $464,000 this next year. Again, with the legacy, the strong passion that this church has for missions, we think this is a very, very good ask.
That's great. Let's talk about the Compassion Center.
So Compassion Center, another one that has excited the church and ministry this year. Revenues are also expected to come in around $420,000. Expenses will be a little bit higher at $450,000. But as that excitement that we've seen from the church is demonstrated in super strong reserves for the Compassion Center. And we have things, we are growing the ministry there. And so we are excited to actually ask for even more. We're going to be asking for $495,000 for this next year for the congregation to approve.
Yeah, one thing that people may not have heard yet that we're really grateful for is that this year, the Compassion Center building has been completely paid off. So our building project that we went through to buy that property and renovate it is done, and we are completely debt-free as a church, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that is really exciting. Again, back to what we said earlier, overall, the church has zero debt and very strong position financially.
Good. Well, Tim, for people listening who maybe have questions or want to learn more, what can they do?
Yeah, we know that many people in the congregation will probably have some more detailed questions that they'd like to ask, and we've got a couple different ways to facilitate that. The first is going to be a Q&A session on September 15th from 9:30 to 10:30 in the prayer room, E100, just outside the doors here of the church. And the other is to send an email to treasurer@amcc.org.
That's great. Thank you, Tim. I do want to let you know our business meetings are going to be lightning fast. They're just at the end of a service, and so they're really not a place to ask questions. If you have questions about anything, we want to hear from you. We want to engage. So take the opportunity to email treasurer@amcc.org. If you have questions just generally about what's going on, you can get us at reachus@amcc.org. And then also be sure to take advantage of those Q&A sessions as well. Alderwood, we love you. We're so grateful for you being a part of our church family here. God has a lot ahead for us. We're excited to see what He can do. Let's do it together.